Ladies, gentlemen, and all you expendable red shirts, welcome. As always, I am Cosmic, and today we're going to be reviewing The Away Team, an indie interactive fiction game developed by Underflow Studios. Essentially, The Away Team is a text-based choose-your-own adventure game that is set in a futuristic sci-fi universe. The Away Team places the player in the role of a last human ship's AI, which is in charge of making all the decisions for the crew, including what course of action to take on away missions. Basically, imagine the mother from the Alien film, and the crew is completely dependent and trusting of that AI with their lives and everything, and you basically have what the situation is. Your ship is the last known ship of the humans in the galaxy, and it's your job to guide them to a new planet where they can settle and start to rebuild humanity. Now, as you start, you select your crew from 10 available people. You can only select 6 crew members, or in easy mode you can select more, and more people will be unlocked later on. Each crew member has their own bio, roles such as soldier, mechanic or scientist, and personal traits which will define how they act on missions. These traits will not all be positive. Some, however, will be beneficial, for example, a soldier who is brave. Others can cause issues, such as a scientist who's arrogant or afraid. Once your crew is selected, it's off to search planets, uncover mysteries, and try not to get themselves killed. It's tempting upon first look at the Away Team to think that the game could be somewhat like games like FTL, however it isn't. There's no randomly generated events or worlds. In fact, everything in the game, including its story and events, are set, giving your choices more meaning and branching out into different paths depending on your choices. Now, with the game being so text-based, it's pretty much void of any game mechanics. Now, it could be argued by some that it's less of a game and more of an interactive fiction, but that being said, the game does have a failure state. It does contain minor puzzles and resource management, so ultimately it's a game all about choices, and with that in mind, I think it easily falls into the game category, just given for the fact that you can fail at it. Every action you take in the Away Team is a choice: which planets you visit, which team you choose to investigate, what course of action you choose them to pursue when something happens. All of which have consequences. Visiting a planet may mean that you can't visit the others after that in the system. Your team choice on away missions may not have the right skill set or bring people who become liabilities. Choosing a certain course of action may get people killed. These are lasting choices in the Away Team, and things only get more critical as time goes by. Your crew will need food, and your ship will ultimately need fuel. These resources can be gathered planetside, and you'll often can choose what to gather depending on where you are. Should your ship run out of fuel, you'll die. Should your crew run out of food, they may starve, or they may cannibalize themselves eventually. It all depends on what choices you make. Now, like I've said, the game is heavily text-based, and it's pretty much all there is to it. It's all text-based, so if you don't like reading and lots of reading, then this game is not for you, because it's ultimately about choices and understanding the situation to choose the right course of action depending on the scenario, which means that you do have to read it carefully to fully get all the details, especially when it comes to solving some of the mysteries or some of the puzzles. All the little bits of information in the walls of text that the game gives you are ultimately very, very important. That being said, while there is a lot of text, I do feel that the game has let itself down in that regard in terms of not having more visuals on aid. I think it would have been a fantastic idea to have maybe some concept art or just some general art in the background to depict the situation or the setting, just to give the text some aid in terms of imagining what the situation is like. Because while explaining that there's a control panel full of buttons, it's sometimes difficult when there's a lot of text to really picture what's going on, and I think a couple of visual aids would have been a really nice aesthetical touch to the game. And I think overall the visuals are somewhat disappointing. It is pixel art, but I feel that the resolution size and the amount of pixels that there actually is could have been massively improved just to make the game a little bit crisp clearer, and I think that would have benefited overall. Ultimately, where the game shines is in its narrative and in its story. It tells the story very well. The game, for the most part, is fairly well written. I've seen better, but I've also seen much, much, much worse. I like that the game gives you a lot of choices, and the story itself throws a lot of sci-fi pop culture references, which is a nice touch, things like Alien and Prometheus, that kind of thing. The story itself and the writing does do a good job of giving each crew member a certain personality, which makes you somewhat care about them, and I think that's most important, that it's fun when you're trying to go through the game and trying not to get anybody killed. That does add an element of tension. It doesn't do it as well as other games, but I think that for what it does well. The Away Team ultimately is a game that is going to be loved by some and hated by others. It's a game that, if you can appreciate it for what it is and what little it is, because the game will only take you a couple of hours to complete. That being said, it does have some replayability in the sense that there are multiple options, there are multiple branching paths, and ultimately multiple endings to the game. If you can appreciate it as a text-based adventure, then you'll no doubt get enjoyment from this little indie game. However, if text-based adventures are not for you, then there's probably no real reason to try it, because there is a lot of text and it's something that you do have to read. You can't just click through it, because if you do, you will die. Ultimately, for me, it is a nice little niche indie game. I think that if you took away things like the resource management and you took away the crew's permadeath and that kind of thing, then I think ultimately it would fall short on many accounts. But I think with the added tension of a crew's permadeath and the added tension of trying to keep them all alive and doing the mysteries, doing the puzzles, trying to figure out what's going on and ultimately get the ending that you want to achieve, as a niche game, which is what it is, it works very well, and I think that people who like and enjoy text-based adventures will get enjoyment out of the Away Team. And that's my review of the Away Team. Thank you so much for watching and listening. As always, do like, subscribe and leave a comment. I am giving away a copy of this game for free, which the link to that is in the description below, and as always, I will see you next time.